Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Ras Tafari, the lion's voice.
This is Mama Thea of Asli Pure, and when I want to hear the story from the lion and the lioness, I listen to Lion Voice with Ras Bonsu.
Greetings, this is Ras Shiloh. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir? Ras Shiloh said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir?
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
Yes, job people, this is Michael Shamaya representing. I will say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari live it. Hey, the lion's voice. Rastafari.
Alright, listen to me now, people. The lion roar, no dog bark. See? The lion's voice with Kwasi Bonsu. Time right now for the lion to tell his story. See? Listen up.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lamb's voice. Now put it, I jolly for say that.
I will never stop, hail the Most High. And I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Trent of Steel Pulse, and I'm saying hail to the lion voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here, hear me now. Yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.
Jano, I'm so hungry, bro. I haven't eaten all day. Like, my head started to hurt me too. Like, oh no, what could I eat right now?
What about a city samosa? samosa, a fusion of Indian, Jamaican, and African culture. City samosas, the best samosas in the city.
Yeah. Ras Tafari, Empress Haile Selassie the first. Tell the people about Empress Menen. Well, even if the stars they fall and the moon turn into blood, but to the coming while we stand tall, I will shower you with my love. And even when the people start ball, cause they see the city streets them flood, but when the hurricane blow down their wall, I'll be by your side and me nah budge. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your love was a lifeline. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, that light was a lifeline. It seems like the world is upside down. I will never hide, I'd rather stand my ground. Lion of Judah blessed with the triple crown. Can't come fool I with no circus clown. Now fear no hurricane or the cyclone. Respect for Mama Earth with that embedded on me bone. That's why I will never leave you alone. Protect you from harm when the alarm sound. So even when the stars they fall and the moon turn into blood, to the coming war we stand tall, I will shower you with my love. And even when the people start ball, cause they see their city streets them flood, when the hurricane blow down our wall, I'll be by your side and me not budge. Think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your light was a lifeline. I think I found the love of a lifetime. I love you every day or the night time. The Almighty, I made your light shine, and unto I, your love was a lifeline. They say hurt people, maybe that's why Babylon them so evil. Maybe Babylon abused as a child. That's why them no like the light when you smile. That's why them no like how your body curve. The way how you dance kept on Babylon nerve. Them no know how the Almighty you serve. Want to be a queen, so a king you deserve. And I'll be by you.
What do you have to tell the people about Ras Tafari?
Light to the world. The king of kings and the conquering line of the tribe of Judah. I left himself. Where's rightful ruler? Hey yo! Yeah, hear them high, hear the black king on the 23rd of July. So tell them guy who praise God up in the sky, it's a lie. The Almighty living on your night. From ancient time them a try. Them Romans know them just open them suit and ties. Criminals ain't got no alibi, they stole my people. Then them comes without them genocide.
Are you talking about slavery?
Them couldn't kill the lion will come conquer Judah tribe. Go through tribulation, and I strive, see sufferation, and I still rise. That's why we tell them in America, live Rastafari in every ghetto area. We come if you tell them in a Toronto, straight at it.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. Glory and honor in the name of His chosen Queen, Empress Menen. My name is Kwasi Bonsu, aka DejazmatchKwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras, aka the Pan-African Happy Man, creative industry attorney. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Talk Live. Welcome to to Lion Talk Live, and welcome to the Lion Voice Network, where the lions are telling our own story. Blessed Coronation Day to all of our global Rastafari family. All over the four corners of the earth, celebrations are taking place to celebrate this day, November 2nd, 1930. Black King and Queen ascended the highest throne. And today we have a very special episode. I am fresh from Ghana, West Africa. And I said, usually on the coronation, we reason with brethren and sistren from the diaspora about the coronation. But I said we need to hear from our brethren and sistren born and raised on the continent. So we're going to do things a little bit different today. And we have a panel of brethren and a sistren who are going to give us a perspective that we don't much hear in the West. And one of the things that we are doing with this platform is we're bridging the gap between our brethren and sistren in the diaspora and our brethren and sistren at home. This is the repatriation time. I want to just send heartfelt blessings to my family, my brethren, my sister in Jamaica, who are going through terrible tribulation. We still don't know the full extent of the damage. We're not able to hear from all of our brethren and sisters. I just got news that the Nyabingi house in Pitford, the tabernacle, gone. And I mean, House of Seba, I've seen the iTrex, House of Seba flat. I mean, Root House flat. Many of our Rastafari spaces on the island have been terribly impacted. As I said, we're going to be doing some fundraising, some mobilization here on the platform when we get more information in terms of credible sources. But I've been telling my brethren and sisters, this underscores the necessity of repatriation. The islands are vulnerable to natural disasters, and these things are not going to stop brethren and sisters. So, our elders used to say that the islands will sink, and I don't hear that reasoning anymore. I see, we've become very nationalistic, and I understand because the Caribbean is a sixth region. We are claiming that as part of Africa satellite states, but we have to understand that the Caribbean islands are vulnerable, and we still cannot give up a continent for an island. So we're just sending blessings to the family. But again, I just want us to wake up and to know the time. As we speak, the U.S. is sending armed warships to Venezuela, potentially turning the entire Caribbean basin into a battlefield. There surely will be an interruption of international shipping. 90% of the food in the Caribbean is imported. You see where I'm going, family. This is not a time for us to just look at things casually. It's time to really wake up and to fulfill our divine destiny. But we'll get into all of that. Again, heartfelt blessings to our global Rastafari family. Heartfelt to all of our Rastafari brethren and Black people of the world in Jamaica, Haiti, Cuba, all of the islands impacted by Hurricane Melissa. All right, so I'm going to introduce our panel. We're going to get right into it. We have some of the panelists on the way, so we're going to start off with our panelists that are here. Please remember that this is Coronation Day, so our panelists are all leaving various coronation events to come and speak to us here on the Lion Voice Network. After I leave this, I'll be headed to a coronation event here in Washington, D.C. Area. So it's a celebration time, but I'm very excited for this panel and for our guests that we have here today. Let me bring them forward. Who is here? We have brethren from South Africa, royal blessings, and we have brethren from Ghana, royal blessings. And these brethren need no introduction, but I will allow them to introduce themselves for those who are not familiar. Field Marshal Toto, can I turn your phone like this, sideways? And you might have to put it on auto rotate. You might have to swipe down the top and put it on auto rotate to allow it to adjust. So we get the eye fully in the frame. See if the eye can full up that. In the meantime, Daddy Bosco, can you please, Ras Ahuma Bosco Akansi, can you please introduce yourself to the global family?
So greetings one and all. Um, Everybody calls me Daddy Bosco, but the name in the books is Ahuma Bosco Kanse, and I represent the Ras Tafari Council, Ghana, as the chairman, and I'm also the president or chairman of the Ras Tafari Continental Council. Rastafari is our light.
Yes, I.
That's what we've been trotting since Zaina is a teenager.
Yes, I.
It's an aspiration that we can contribute to this enduring legacy set forth by the forebears. Give thanks.
Give thanks. Give thanks. And yeah, there is no stranger to the platform, so we give thanks for the eye presence. Toto, please introduce the eye self, royal family.
Greetings, Ras Kwasi and your listeners of the Lion's Voice, and greetings to my honorable chairman, ancient elder Ahuma Bosco.
Salute, me Field Marshal. Salute.
Yes.
Yes, man. Yeah, my name is Tau Haramanuba. I'm the deputy chairman of Rastafari Continental Council and the founding members of it, along with the chairman, Daddy Bosco. And I'm also the president of Rastafari United Front, which is a national, continental, and international organization. And I'm also the national deputy chairperson of Rastafari Nation Council. It's a nation council with 26 Rastafari organizations in South Africa and 7 orders of the Church of His Majesty. Okay. And then also I'm the director of Bantu Soul Society. Bantu Soul Society, it's an institute of Africanity and a community of African spirituality. So that is dealing with the broader African communities in our African cosmologies and spiritualities and epistemologies. Actually, I'm speaking with the eye now. I'm in the mountain kingdom of Lesotho. I arrived yesterday for the coronation, but I come from Durban, Ulundi, in the land of the Zulus. We had a whole week conference about setting up framework for RPL, recognition of prior learning in indigenous knowledge system, as part of integrating it within the curriculum, but also to set up the norms and standards. So I had a very long week. I just woke up now because we were having a chanting on top of the mountain in a big cave. You know, climbing mountain is taxing, and the whole night. So we just came back around midday. So yeah, I just woke up for this particular reasoning. Give thanks, Rastafari.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to reason for the eye for a long time. I'm telling the eye, I'm so joyful, and we're gonna have to bring the eye by yourself because there's so much that the eye have to talk and to reason. So definitely. I want to also introduce a female Menen energy. We have our royal sister, Sipokazi. Can you please introduce yourself, Royal Queen?
Royal greetings.
Rastafari.
Give thanks and praises to the Most High, Rastafari. My name is Sipokazi Nondumisontintilli. I am from South Africa, Africa. I'm an African daughter. I'm a Rastafari daughter. I'm a daughter of Melchizedek. I'm called Alemwork. And I hail Rastafari. Give thanks and praises for the moment that has been given. And I hope that this will be very impactful and it will bring an enlightenment to our brothers and sisters who are in the diaspora and also here in Africa with the views that we have with African perspective in the Rastafari movement. I give thanks. Ninjani
Thanks.
Bandabadala, Dili Pasco, Elder Tau Tau. I hope
Greetings,
everybody is
Empress.
good and
Yes, greetings.
Bless
present
the
for the
love,
great
Empress of
incoming
Scotty.
Give thanks, give
Rastafari.
thanks. And this
So
for my
that's
audience, this represents a new beginning because we are going to be focusing a lot more on our brethren and sistren on the continent, because I find in the diaspora we talk to ourselves a lot and we're not including the voices from Mama Africa where we all say we want to go. So we are going to be bridging that gap more and more and more as we move into this Gideon, Iowa. I want to start with the I Field Marshal Toto. What does the coronation mean to the eye and to one's in?
Well, the coronation of Rastafari, of His Majesty and Her Majesty.
Okay. You heard the brethren say he's in the mountain, so we're having
Can
a.
you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Am I audible? Can you hear
Yes,
me?
Yes, I. We hear the eye now. Continue. Continue.
I think there was a network glitch. Can the eye hear me now?
Yes, we hear the eye now.
All right.
Go
Give
ahead.
thanks. Give thanks. I'm saying that the coronation of His Majesty and Her Majesty carry multitude of significance. First, when the Emperor and the Empress were crowned, there were only two independent states in Africa, which was Ethiopia and Liberia, which then positioned Rastafari as first and foremost a liberation movement or a revolutionary movement before the current posture of it, which is more now like a religious movement. So when we look at the coronation for us who are of the African Rastafari new faculty of interpretation,
yes,
is that beyond the biblical perspective, we look at it from the historical point of view that the king in the African setup is a divine representative of God on earth. So it brings about the memories of the divine kingship, the divine royalty. In any normal African village or a setting or kingdom, which is governed by the king, the voice of the king, the word of the king, the law of the king is the ultimate law. You know, we have many African proverbs that if you disrespect the king, you must leave his village. The word of the king, you can't cross that word. You can't cross that line once the king has put a word. So now looking at it now from the African perspective of the coronation is that it also gives us back our divine royalty and divinity. That every now and then, I think Rastafari is the only movement which bestow upon us this thing that people, when they see us, they call you king and they call the woman queen. Yes, my lord. Yes, king. Even people are not Rasta. So the endowment of royalty, it is beyond question. You don't question that. I've found more respect from people for just seeing us Rasta, although we do get some disrespect, you know, because particularly people like us, myself, who engaging a lot in decolonization and talking about de-Christianization and colonialism and slavery. So black people hate everything about colonialism except slavery, except Christianity. Once you start to talk about Christianity, they start to have chest pains. And then you start to hear people say, when are you going to cut your beard? Oh, this ones, they smoke too much ganja. So cognitive dissonance make them start to attack your Rasta physical features. You know, your beard, you might be high. There's no way somebody is going to just turn against this gigantic superstructure of colonialism. So, but we find that it gave us a lot of respect, lot of royalty, lot of self-knowledge, although there's so much contradiction, because within the philosophy of Rastafari talk about, like, for instance, we can't give away a continent for an island.
Yes.
But you find that the propensity is to impose island mentality over the continent. Most of the Rastafari who are on the continent, coming from the diaspora, they're behaving like missionaries. They try to talk down on us. They're trying to tell us what we should do. They're trying to impose their own limited perspective. Yet they admit that it is the half of the story. I mean, I've been Rastafari for 35 years, so I've heard all type of Rasta philosophies that this is the half that was never been told, you know. But that half, they want to impose that half without reconciling it with the fullness that is in the continent. Like most of our people, like myself, I speak 14 African languages. So the fact that we were colonized, it doesn't mean to say we were completely, our knowledge system was wrapped off. You know, it's far from it. Colonialism is not complete subjugation. We fought resistance, we fought all type of things. So that is one aspect that I find that we still don't reconcile the philosophical utterances of Rastafari. Like Rastafari is talking about roots and culture. And then you ask which roots. Most Rastas, they're talking about the roots of Israel. They don't talk about their immediate African roots, particularly in South Africa here. When most people turn Rasta, they turn Jamaican. They want to speak Patois. They want to be anti-African culture. They call their ancestors demons. They demonize everything African. Actually, their immediate understanding of who the devil is their immediate family, relatives, cultural practices. We have some WhatsApp groups like Nyabingi Ancient Council. 99.9% of debate there is just one, as you did say, that mostly in the diaspora, you're having conversation with yourself. But there you find like they're preaching to the converted. They are singing to the choir. There's more engagement of trying to convert one another to their own perspective of thinking. You hardly hear any programs of confronting the system, like this issue of the elder David who's arrested in Gambia. We've set forward recommendations, let's approach the Gambian embassies and so forth through the RCC, through your local Rastafari structures in every country. Those type of actions, they get little attention, like 0.1% attention, and then they go back to fighting among themselves. Who's more Rasta, who's less Rasta. You are not Rasta because you don't read Bible. You are not Rasta because His Majesty said we must be religious and Christian. I'm thinking, show me where Haile Selassie say Rastafari people, you must be Christian. Because it looked like we left the church through the front door and we are coming back through the back door. And it is not the whole intention. So there is quite a lot when it comes to African Rastafari perspective.
Yes.
And the African diaspora Rastafari perspective that still needs to be reconciled and just have a one flow. But all and above, the coronation, we celebrate it in so many ways. I've seen even our traditional elders, the elderly ones who lived a long time ago, who still, the Ethiopianist, those who belong to this group of the Ethiopian movement, who also cherish the coronation, albeit not the same as the Rastafari, but it is seen as a very most significant event in the continent.
Give thanks. Field Marshal, you come out shooting today. You didn't waste any time. You take out the long gun. We love it. We love it. And I want to go deeper into that because I want to reconcile some of the symbology of the coronation with the I perspective. But I want to go to my sister because the coronation also featured the elevation of Empress Menen, breaking with a long-standing Ethiopian tradition. How does the I view the significance of the coronation, my sister?
Thank you for the space and time given. When Haile Selassie was crowned, he said that, I thank God for the raising of a mere man to be in the level of kings. As Africans and this perspective that we have, I believe that we should merely start on self-knowledge, knowing thyself of who we truly are. Elder Tao Tao did mention that we have a different way of living, and we have this perspective that the Jamaicans, sorry, not to actually be, kind of offline, but the way that they present the Rastafari movement is not according to perhaps the way we Africans we look into. I did have some few words with you, my elder, a few days ago, saying that roots and culture means that we should actually be looking into what is African movement bringing into the table of the Rastafari movement, and which is part of it would be knowing the structure of how do we reach, the godliness in ourselves, and in the perspective of the incarnation of God, on how we actually start the connection of being the mere self of me today, of having ubaba and of having umkhulu and of having ukoko, of having all the hierarchies of being a being and connecting to God. So God is not merely far from us, but God is within us. But the emphasis of it is mostly on who do we necessarily connect to and how do we connect to the vibration of everything. And Haile Selassie is presented in that sense to us, on that we ideally take him in that manner, that he is the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, and he is the creator of all human race. And we state in him by knowing who we are as Africans. And the balance of Empress Menen, I believe that dark and light, moon and sun, creation, it always it stands together like that. So a woman and a man, they both create in that sense. So Empress Menen contributed a lot in the sense of creation. Hence, she was also recognized in the same coronation with Empress Haile Selassie. So we as Africans, we have a lot that we need to actually enforce in the Rastafari movement, as the new faculty has been spoken by Elder Tau Tau that we are overseeing. And there are things that are needed, I believe, to be rectified in the movement for us to strive and know thyself, that what is it that we are supposed to be doing and we are supposed to be undergoing in the sense of the movement of Rastafari.
Give thanks. Give thanks. Very, very royal. Let me add our Honorable Mike Pam to the reasoning. He'll join us. In the meantime, so we have Nigeria, the most populous African country represented. Honorable, can I turn your phone this way and put it on auto rotate, so we can get the eye to full up the frame there? Yeah, turn your phone this way, family.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear the eye. Can you turn your phone sideways? And you might have to, yes, you might have to put auto rotate on.
Okay.
You might have swipe the, yeah, swipe the top and put it on auto rotate, so it will
auto rotate.
Yes, I.
All right. All right.
In the meantime, Daddy Bosco Rasahuma, what does the coronation mean to the eye?
Give thanks. I like to greet the global family once again. What you call it? Earlier today, I was on radio having an interview, and I was telling the brethren that as youths growing up as Rastafari, one of my brethren, Little Joe, used to say that without the coronation, there'd be no Rastafari.
Facts.
Because it was the coronation that signified who His Imperial Majesty is. And it was a coronation that the elders had said, look to Africa for the day the king will be crowned. That is the day of redemption. So the coronation is a very significant event or milestone within the Rastafari chronology, you know. And for I and I here in Ghana, right now as I'm speaking, it's being celebrated. I just had to step out of the celebration and come to our brethren's place, you know, because of the sound. And apart from here, it's being celebrated in Befikrom in the central region. It's been celebrated in Kwasi at the Legacy Gardens and other parts of the country. Now, if you take away Coronation Day, there'd be no Rastafari, because it was that day that 72 nations went and testified to the significance of the day, you know. So there's no doubt, there's no ambiguity. For I and I, the Coronation Day is the single most significant event, because yes, His Majesty was born on 23rd July, but if he hadn't been crowned King of Kings and Lords of tribe of Judah, there'd be no Rastafari. Give thanks.
Give thanks, give thanks. The volume dropped at the last part, but I think we got the fullness. If you're watching live, and I know hundreds will watch after, just drop a comment. Let us know where on earth you're watching from. If you have questions for our guests, put them in the comment section. We want to keep this live. This is a global live. So let us check in. All of the ones who are watching live, let us know where you're watching from. And if you are watching this on the replay, also just put a comment. Let us know where on earth the eye is watching from. All right, Honorable Mike Pam, what does the coronation mean to the eye?
Yes, give thanks, my king. And give thanks, kings, yes, and the empress. Yes, indeed. Coronation is the day. In fact, that's the reason why Anna is a little bit late to come up for the show right now, because Anna was at coronation ground at the Italia, you know. And if I wanted to do this at the Italia, the noise, because enough of the item, they are still, you know, but I have to come back home for me to do this and then still get back because we have iration all through the night. So the coronation is the essence, you know, of I Rastafari throat. Because the coronation of His Imperial Majesty, you know, as the Alpha, and Empress Menen as the Omega, you know, is the embodiment of I liberty, you know, because that was the day the staff was given, and the witnesses from all over the world, like my Lord just said, 72 nations, enough man, them, and all the chants. Today we've been chanting all the psalms, all the psalms that were chanted, the ones that were that His Majesty himself chanted, the ones that the Abuna chanted, the one that the choristers chanted, and all that. So we're following that, and when you listen and you know go back again and you know open your minds to those you know psalms, it gives you some perspective that you ordinarily wouldn't have understood about the divinity of His Imperial Majesty. So the coronation is the embodiment of I, you know, trod in this liberty and holding up Selassie as ex-rightful ruler, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of himself, Selassie.
Yes, I give thanks, and I'm glad that you brought up the Psalms because and I'm coming to the Field Marshal Toto. The coronation is seat, in the same Judeo-Christian symbology that the has been very vocal because I follow the and I definitely understand where they are coming from in terms of, as African tradition, and I'm very much against the demonization of African tradition that I see a lot of ones take from Western Christianity. His Majesty never hold those type of position. However, I think how does the I reconcile the standpoint in terms of a total rejection of Judeo-Christian symbology with the symbols that were at the coronation, the Psalms, the fact that he was crowned by the Orthodox Church, which at that time was controlled by the See of Saint Mark. This was before autocephaly, when Ethiopia separated the church. When you talk about the scepter, when you talk about even the title of the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, how does the I reconcile all of that symbology with the I position that this is a colonial vestige, or the Judeo-Christian is a colonial vestige?
Give thanks. The coronation was not to crown His Majesty into a god. His Majesty is made a god by us. The coronation was a pure Christian setup, and even after that pure Christian setup, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, having performed all those elaborate rituals, they still don't define Haile Selassie as God. So the coronation got nothing to do with the Godhead of Haile Selassie. The Godhead of Haile Selassie have everything to do with the declaration of the Rastafari, that the Rastafari declare him God. So the coronation, the psalms, the ceremonies, the elaborateness, the 12 nations that were invited, actually it's 12 nations, it was not 72 nations. This is a Rastafari biblical mythology. Because if I start to ask now, who were those 72 nations, very few will be able to explain that. But there were actually 13 nations. Haile Selassie explained it in his autobiography, and the rationale of why those 12 nations, 13 nations were invited were the nation that has concluded a treaty with Ethiopia. So these are things that come out of the Kabbalah, biblical mythology, to say the 72 nations around God and so forth. They predate the coronation itself. It's something that come out of the Talmud and Mishnah and the Kabbalah of the Judeo-Christian perspective. So we don't look at the Ethiopian Orthodox Church as an extension of Rastafari, because it is not. By any imagination, it is not. I was given a scholarship to study with the Ethiopian Orthodox Church between 2004 and 2006 by the late Abuna Paulos. And for the whole 2 years, they spent every day trying to convert me into a Christian, to convince me to drop the whole idea that Haile Selassie is God and to cut my hair. So I find it very obscenely obsessive for the Rastafari to hold on to a system that does not even spend a day trying to defend them. But that system spent every second trying to convert them. I know a lot of Rastafari who got baptized in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, and they got their dreadlocks cut off, and then they were made to denounce Haile Selassie and to embrace Jesus Christ. So therefore, I don't see the Ethiopian history, the Ethiopian religion, or the coronation as an extension of Rastafari levity. Rastafari levity began in 1930, as you rightfully say, and actually historically from 1932, when Leonard Howell started to preach, Archibald Dunkley, Joseph Nathaniel Hebert, and Robert Hines started to preach, and preaching 4 different schools of thoughts. And mainly when Howell came up with the Promise Key, was building on 2 other publications, the Parchment Scroll of Black Supremacy and the Holy PB, and which these 3 books were initially designed to replace the Bible, because they were accompanied by a statement that say, put not a book that curses the black man on the altar of black supremacy. So now, and His Majesty has denounced some of these religious syncretism tendencies, because the problem with religious syncretism, it breeds schizophrenia. And it has done that largely within the movement, because, for instance, Bill McNeil asked Haile Selassie, His Majesty, people worship you as Christ, both in Ethiopia and outside of Ethiopia. And he said, I am not. And I've told certain Rastafarians, I am not. And men should not think or pretend that a deity emanates from God. Now, these are deep theological, abstract statements. And Rasta deal with them from a simplistic point of view, not from their depth, that what is a deity? What is emanation? What is man? What is the definition of man? What is, when you say deity, it does not emanate from man, what does it mean? While we are insisting that this man is a deity that emanated through the line of group of men, including Solomon and David. What does it mean? So by refusing to analyze these very pertinent abstractions, we are therefore saying Haile Selassie is a low-key lying about his divinity. And we try to cover it up with other things like, no, he's not, he's being what is it? He's being modest. You know, you can't just say, I'm God. Why can't he say he's God? God is God. In all scriptures, God is very clear about his Godhead or whatever, that, you know, I'm God, worship me alone, like the biblical God. I'm a jealous God, worship me alone, don't have any other God. But this one is like, no, we will have to do apologies on his behalf, that no, you know, yeah, he's humble, his humility does not allow him to say, I'm Christ. So I basically say, oh, he's low-key lying about his divinity. So, but my point is, we don't need any of those things to point out the divinity of His Majesty, because it is about the person, not the pageantry around him, not the amount of psalms that were read, not the amount of chant, because people who sang those songs and chanted those chants, they still don't see his divinity. And his divinity does not emanate from those rituals. It emanates from the Rastafari ability to identify the God in him, which is something very fundamental in African divine kingship. It was there with the pharaohs, it was there with our kings, it was there with the Kabakas in Uganda, it was there with the Mwamis of Rwanda. We can trace it within our African cultural perspective, that is it an African thing to see the God in the king? If it is so, then we can culturally say it is a practice that we have. Because again, you see, the assumption that the throne of Ethiopia began with the meeting of Solomon and Sheba is also a false historical narrative. When the Queen of Sheba went to meet Solomon, there were 97 queens that ruled Ethiopia before her. And there was only 2 kings that ruled Israel before Solomon. It was only David and Saul. Before that, they never had kings, but Ethiopia had about 97 queens, all the way to King Kush, to Ham and Kush. And then after that, you had this the flood. Before the flood, there was 22 sovereigns from King Ori. So it is the oldest monarchy, recorded monarchy. So that does not need Solomonic justification. It is older than the Solomonic line. It existed before the Solomonic line. It continued before that. And Haile Selassie point that in his book, recorded by C.F. Ray, In the Land of the Blue Nile, where Haile Selassie gives the whole lineage of kings from King Ori, before Solomon, before David, the first king of kings of Ethiopia, to himself, and from a memory that these are his line of kings that he followed through. So he traces divinity beyond Solomon and David, and I don't understand why should I begin his divinity from David and Solomon when he traces his line and even those titles, King of Kings. Those titles are not Judeo-Christians. Nebuchadnezzar was also referred to as King of Kings. When Daniel was given the interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream, he referred to him as, "O thou king, you are the King of Kings, but God shall cut you down and humble you." we have that when His Majesty went to Malawi in 1966, he met Inkosi Yamakos, which simply means the King of Kings of the kings of Malawi. The Zulu king is the king of kings. The concept of the king of kings is not biblical. It's about the paramount, it's about the king over other kings around. Just like its Ethiopian origin beyond the Bible, in its Ethiopian origin was like Ethiopia had kings, king of Shua, king of Tigria, king of Sidama, king of the Oromos, and when you become the emperor, you are king of all kings first. You are primarily king of kings of all the kings of Ethiopia before you can even carry on biblical mythological title, is that you are in actuality a king over all the reigning kings. So it's the same thing today. The Zulu king here in South Africa is the king over all these other kings that are found in the land of KwaZulu. The king of Abatembu is the king of Izwelonke. He's the king over all these other kings that you found them around, because Africa was a continent of kingdoms before it became a continent of countries through the Berlin Conference. Now, as a continent of kingdoms, we had kingship from Cape to Cairo, Morocco to Madagascar. But in the certain polity or a country or demarcation, you'll find the king over all these other kings. So what we are looking at is to look at something African within the titles of His Majesty, and we identify with that. Like we say that himself traces line beyond Solomon and Sheba union, but also we look at what he said in his utterances. He said, yes, I am a Christian, but as a king, I'm equally a Christian, a Muslim, and a pagan. Now, he made mention of three spiritual groups, if you wish. But why do we choose to emphasize one group, the Christian part of it? Why we don't emphasize the Islamic part? Because there was that Islamic part. His mother was a Muslim. And I met a Rasta man from Rwanda, in Rwanda, when I visited Rwanda in the year 2001. I met a Rasta man called Ras Masada. He used the Quran to rationalize Rastafari. Everything he say, keep on saying the Quran say, like this Rastas who always say the Bible say, Psalm this, chapter this. Him is the Quran, 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 Quran. That is the second perspective. And now we are coming up with the third perspective of the pagan part, where he said, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, and I'm a pagan. Because this is just Western scholarship of referring to African spirituality as paganism and all of that. But we say His Majesties identify with that. But also, when you look at it now from an esoteric point of view, there is no way you can be a Christian, a Muslim, and a pagan. And there's no way you can be a Christian and a Muslim at the same time. So our point and perspective is that His Majesty, when he say he's all of that, is just a way to say he's none of that. Because God belongs to no religion. There's no way we are going to expect His Majesty. When we elevate him to a Godhead, it's an elevation that we do, it's a choice we make. I can wake up tomorrow and decide I'm no more a Rasta man and I don't see His Majesty as God, and nothing is going to happen to me fundamental. I'm not going to go to hell. I won't burn. I won't do nothing. Nothing fundamental is going to happen to me. But it's a choice that we make. We elect him to be our divine king, our God. So if I say Haile Selassie is God, based on my African understanding of what God is, then the question is, what is wrong with that? Particularly for the people who say, all nations shall bow, all tongue shall confess. Now I come with my African tongue to confess His divinity, and it become problematic because I'm not confessing it from Judeo-Christian point of view. So I find it to be a little bit narrow and limited, and it's a space that needs to be explored broadly in terms of what does it mean for those of us who see His Majesty outside of Judeo-Christian prism. What does it mean for those of us who say His Majesty is the Almighty without making reference to the Bible? What is it important? Is it the Bible or the emperor? Why do I, if I cut short and jump all of this biblical and theological jargon and I go straight to the core of the matter, the divinity of the emperor? Why do I need to go through the Sunday school interpretation of Rastafari? Why do I need to
have to read the Bible to arrive at the conclusion that I've arrived at without the Bible. That is what made me drop out of the theology college in Ethiopia. They show me an old man who is they say he was the head of the Ethiopian scholars for about 90 years. So he's learned in every book of the Orthodox Church. I went to him and asked him, because I was given a 4 years course. I asked him that if I read everything that we have read, will it arrive me at a conclusion that Haile Selassie is God? He said, no. I woke up the following day, I picked up my bags and left Ethiopia because I felt like
We're having a little technical difficulties. Patience, family. This is historic. We are talking to our brethren and sisters at home on the continent. We have to get ready to expand our understanding of this Rastafari trad, and I love it. I love the reasoning. Ras Toto, Field Marshal Toto, said he's up in the mountains of Lesotho, so the Wi-Fi is a little bit spotty. We'll get him forward, but he's blocking some sound. He came out shooting today, family, and I love it. My sister, as a born African empress, how does the eye sight the Judeo-Christian symbology of the coronation with the eye overstanding as a born African, probably coming out of a traditional overstanding?
Give thanks once more. Can I just jump in a bit as a mother and not logic, but a bit of emotions here?
Yes.
I can say I can put all my kids in one crib in terms of universal spirituality.
Really?
And knowing thyself, regardless of where you have positioned yourself. There are certain fundamentals that as people we should abide to and live, as humans. So when we start to know that humanity is something that any kind of a person should acquire, should have, that's when we're gonna start to acknowledge everybody, in the sense of liberty, and not dwell in that thing that we are Rastas and we are anointed or better than any other. But it's for us to teach, it's for us to enlighten, it's for us to do the works, in terms of roots and culture, as it is stated always. What is it? Who are we? It is stated that God is a definition of I and I self. And if we don't know where we come from, I don't know my forefathers, I don't know my history, I doubt I'll be knowing myself today. So that's where we should be actually starting. And as representing Mama, Abafazi, the women, bringing forth the light, encouragement, supporting the vision of the movement, the vision of the masculine side as we are feminine, and bringing that balance. I believe that everything is gonna work the way it should, and balance will be brought forward. I give thanks.
Good thanks. And I always say that unity does not mean uniformity. You know what I mean? We don't have to all say the same thing to be united. And in fact, that could create a level of weakness. I think we have strengthened our diversity of thought, and I agree with the Field Marshal Toto in the sense that every knee shall bow, every tongue confess. So you will have ones coming from a Christian perspective, you will have one coming from an Islamic, you will have a traditional African perspective, and all of them will hail His Majesty. So we should not make that a issue of contention or be trying to convert people to say the same thing as I or they're my enemy. Go ahead.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I did mention to you earlier on that I am in the Institute of Abakalipibo Kanya,
Okay.
and
Explain
we
what that is. Explain
do
what that is.
understand the teachings of His Imperial Majesty.
Explain to the people what that is.
Abakalipibo, should I say they should go and subscribe? Perhaps they will know more.
Yes, please. Anything you want to promote, please go ahead.
It's a spiritual of spiritual knowledge, institution of spiritual knowledge, and it's headed by Grandmaster Abba Ayalo Amlak. We mainly teach about human condition, knowing thyself, because as I was stating that you can't do anything, without actually coming out to the core of yourself and knowing who is the God within you. So the institution is all about human condition and uplifting a different kind of people, diverse people, but in the teachings of His Imperial Majesty. So my emphasis here is saying that you don't have to be Rasta to have, you don't have to have dreadlocks to be Rasta. You don't have to, have a certain diet to be Rasta, but, the teachings of His Imperial Majesty, they are broad, and anybody can receive that and take it to heart. Give thanks.
Give thanks. Daddy Bosco, Rasahuma. I came up through the 12 tribe of Israel, which I know is a very fundamental and biblical foundation. How does the I, reconcile, this African-centric perspective with the coronation and the roots of Rastafari in the West, which definitely are rooted in a biblical interpretation?
Give thanks. Now, I'll say that Rastafari, for instance, as we're speaking right now, Dr. Jalani is celebrating with the brethren in Rome, in Italy. And I'm talking Caucasian brethren, ancestry, who are proclaiming Rastafari. You dig? So what it is Rastafari is the truth, it's a liberation that has come forth, and like you rightly said, is gonna have various interpretations. But the bottom line is His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie first, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, elect of God, earth rightful ruler. Earlier today, like I was saying earlier, I was on an interview and I was telling the brethren them, because they asked this question about the divinity of His Imperial Majesty. And I said to them, in Ashanti region, the Tumfuo, who is the Asantini, is called Nyamikesie, which means great God. So like my beloved Phil Michelle was saying, the divinity of royalty in Africa is undisputed. Another point I like to put forward is that Rastafari is evolving, and like my virgin said, there's a new faculty. There needs to be a new faculty. Because you see, like Gavi said, when the Virgin and Sistering come to Africa, they come to teach and learn. So it's a mutual exchange. Now, what does that mean? If you say roots and culture, what culture are you talking about? You understand? Rastafari culture is embedded or is underpinned by African culture. The other day, a couple of brethren were reasoning, and Nyabingi came up, and one of the brethren asked the next brethren, "Do you know that Nyabingi is in Uganda and Rwanda? And today, if you go to Rwanda, you will hear music that if you close your eyes, you'll think you're hearing Ras Mickle and the Sons of Niggas." Do you understand? So the point I'm making is that Rastafari is evolving. You understand? The doctrine of Rastafari is evolving. Howell was widely traveled, and one of his writings, he signed it off as Accra, writing from Accra. Do you understand? So it was an aspiration of our forebears to link up with the culture of the homeland. Do you understand? So as continental brethren and sisters who've grown up in Rastafari, the point is, what is the point of intersection? And I tell brethren and sisters that for I, man who's read the Bible a couple of times, I see Africa in the Bible. Circumcision. I mean, growing up, I knew that my white friends who I went to school with, primary school, excuse me, they were in circumcised. So it means that culturally, circumcision is alien to them. Circumcision is fundamental to us. For instance, we of the Ghana stock, the Gandagbe stock, by the 8th day, you have to circumcise you. Libation pouring. We pour libation. Do you understand? When you read the book, you realize that people like Jacob were pouring libation, they were pouring oil, they were pouring water. David was pouring water. Do you understand? Pouring wine and things. That's why they say wine offering. Wine offering is what is libation. So the point I'm making is that yes, I'm a 12 tribe. I've been reading my Bible for the past since I think 1977. I read nearly every day. Do you understand? So I've read it time and again. However, as an African youth, you're seeing yourself even in the book. And as you study further, you read further, you realize that the book is predated by other scriptures, where the argument is that the book is actually summaries of the original. You understand? Which is the ancient Kemet vibe. And then as you study further and you study about Ethiopia and things, you realize that, for instance, it's interesting to note that the Gadangbe people, of which I am a stock, we trace our migration from Egypt through Sudan to Ethiopia. So among my people, we have a king called Nikushi, which is Kush. And we come through Ethiopia and we come through Nigeria and we come through Benin and Togo and end in Ghana. Some of the brethren fall off in Nigeria. Some of the brethren and sisters fall off in Benin. Some of them fall off in Togo, but some push on further and come up to Ghana. Do you understand? So knowing all these things, you come to the realization that the story is broader than just the Judeo-Christian scriptures. And it actually encapsulates a lot more where you find yourself in the story. You understand? So basically, as a 12 tribe of Israel overseer here in Ghana, and I come to the realization that Africa is where it's at. You understand?
Yes, I.
Give thanks.
And His Majesty also said to research beyond the Bible. You know what I mean? He said seek secular knowledge. When they ask him about, you know, if someone asks you about the claims of Christ, you know, he told them seek secular knowledge, seek beyond what you read. So it's consistent. You know what I mean? Honorable Mike Palm, as a proud Igbo man, you know what I mean, coming from the most populous African country, how does the I reconcile the coronation with the I Igbo tradition and the Judeo-Christian tradition? Yeah, here I. Go ahead.
For
Sorry.
I personally, and I is not a Christian. You hear me?
Yes, sir, I hear the eye. Go ahead.
Nice. So for I personally, and I deal with Judeo-Christian arrangement, no any of the religions. Anna is basically more of a traditionalist, as a proud Igbo man, just like what my Lord Almoposco just mentioned. When I look at Rastafari, I look at Rastafari from my Igbo perspective, because Anna, we have kings that are priests, priestly kings, who are the custodians of the culture, tradition, and of course, who lead the people. And this, when our forebears, when they pass on, when they transition, they become ancestors. And our ancestors are the people we know as our saints. What do you hear saints now? Saint this, saint that, and saint all that. In my own tradition, those saints are
Okay, a little technical difference. Remember, family, we are treading over land and sea. I think this might be the first all-African panel of Rastafari in this manner on this kind of global scale. So we're going to have some technical difficulties. Don't worry. We're going to work through it. The fire is hot, you know what I mean? So Wi-Fi sometimes melt, you know what I mean? Because the fire is so hot, Wi-Fi, the guy can't take it. But we give thanks. But this is historic. And I love it because we have to get out of the Western mentality and we have to start to look through the spectacles of Ethiopia, of Africa, as we seek to transition this livity, you know what I mean, into its true potential, which is the manifestation of heaven on earth. To why that is the goal. We are here to manifest the heavenly realm on this physical realm, you know what I mean? And anything short of that is not acceptable, because Babylon's job is they're manifesting hell on earth. So of course we would have to be the opposite. Daddy Bosco,
yes, Naya.
I visited Kwasi in the Volta region, which is our proof of concept that heaven on earth is possible, in terms of its beautiful, magnificent presentation in the breadbasket of Ghana. So it's proof positive that Rastafari can build heaven on earth if we put our minds to it. And we are at the cusp. So I don't want anybody to get this wrong, that we are arguing about divinity or perspective. We're sharing different perspectives and we're finding the unity in the diversity. But continue, Honorable Mike Pam. The eye got cut off there. I was talking about the Igbo tradition and how it reconciles with the coronation.
True, my king. And that's why, my Lord also mentioned that a new faculty, a new faculty of understanding for African Rastafari, because I, is still building up. So the new faculty of understanding for I here in the continent borders around the fact that I have to see Rastafari from our African perspective. Like Tao said about the coronation. Without the coronation, Selassie wouldn't have been the emperor. He wouldn't have been the king of kings. So the coronation is very important. Yes, it was done in the Christian way because that is what it is. The succession of kings there have always gone through that same process, you know. But then in Africa, here in Africa, we are not obliged to see God the way the white boy see God. We are not obliged because even from our own history alone, the fact that they come with the Bible here, you know, tell you say you just will close your eyes and make you pray. By the time you open your eyes, the Bible is in your hands. Why they have gone instead in the hand where they were holding the Bible, while your eyes was closed, and then the lands were gone. Our mothers were raped and all that. It took everything. So that kind of God you were presenting to me, that kind of God you were bringing to introduce to me while you were doing all these things, is alien. It's pretty alien to my African ancestry. Because the God that we know in Africa is the God who cares, who sustains, who succors you, who takes care of you, who oversees everything about your life while you are here on this journey here on earth. So our ancestors, our forebears who transition will become the ancestors, and from there, those are the angels and the saints. And amongst those saints, that's where you have God. Because man, like the Igbo person will tell you, man is God to man. Man is God to man. Is a parable, is a normal saying here. You know, and I over the fact that God is man. So it's for the people to start thinking and rethinking, unlearn, first and foremost, unlearn those things you've been taught that beclouded your sense of reasoning. Unlearn them first and foremost. Then start relearning from your African perspective. And then you will understand, as I would say, understand the exact position where you should be. Look at the Asians. Gautama, Gandhi, Gautama, not Gandhi, that later became Buddha. Gautama was born in a fancy home, like a prince, so to say, and the other with all the accoutrements, all the luxuries that life of that stature should offer him. And of course, there were several kind of religions and other, but when he set up on his own journey of self-discovery, he left all those things behind. He encountered a lot of other thoughts, other spiritual inclinations and movements and groups and all that, but yet he stuck to what he was looking for. He searched and searched and searched for many, many years, and along the line teaching people, and before you know it, he had a large following. Because they were looking at him, they were seeing those things, they were seeing the life he lives. At the end of the day, by the time he transitioned, he became God to his followers. So, and if you look back in history, that is the same trajectory. We have the same trajectory. You know, so history repeats itself every other time. So Christianity for me, yes, here in my place here in Nigeria, in fact, we are too religious for our own good. Nigeria is suffering because right here in Nigeria, you have the highest number of churches. And I think that should be in the world. Because on every street you go, you have like 3, 4, 5 churches on every block. And I'm talking about short blocks, small streets, blaring their loudspeakers and all that. And then you have mosques scattered all over the place. But it's same Nigeria that you have the meanest people, the wickedest people. Right now, America just declared us a country of particular concern because of religious intolerance. But if you know the amount of reverend fathers, pastors, bishops, imams, sheikhs, all manner of clergies we have here. You won't even believe that we are going through what we're going through in Nigeria. So for me, all those foreign religions are here because of one thing or the other. Islamism, of course, was brought here through jihad. They came killing and pillaging. If you don't follow us, you are dead. So many people were out of fear. They converted to that. Of course, Christianity was brought by the missionaries in order to brainwash I and I. And my people are still deep in it. But nothing changes. Not the morality, not the way they live, not the liberty, not nobody, no truthfulness. The highest number of cyber crimes is still here. And some of the cyber criminals are even pastors or spouses of religious figures or offsprings of religious figures. So for me, Nigeria has taught me to understand that religion itself is a scam, big time scam. There's one good thing about religion. The good thing about religion is the fact that it helped us to escape that time when life was short, brute, and you know, religion modifies people. Religion controls people. Religion sets you on a path to be more human-like. Do everything you want to do with human things. That's just one thing I like about religion, because without it, people be doing a whole lot of things. But aside from that, I don't do religion. You know, even right here in Nigeria now, they've devolved to the extent that you have some priests who have gotten into the political arena. We have priests who are now governors and who are messing up the resources of their states, pillaging the state, stealing them blind, committing all manner of atrocities and other. And these are men, the so-called men of God. So I look at Rastafari from my African perspective, first and foremost as an Igbo man. You know, some of them, they redraw our history, telling you that the Igbos migrated from Israel down here. No, we are older than Israel. Igbo, what the Igbo word means, Ndi Igbo, that's how we are called, that's Igbo people, Ndi Igbo. What it means is Ndibo. Ndibo means the ancient people. The ancient people from the rainforest area. So we've been here for millennia. So I'm not of the school of thought that the Igbos migrated from Israel. No. We're now Jews, man. And I am Africans, bona fide, born and bred, original, aboriginal. You know, so I cannot be forced to see God from the perspective of the white man who came here to, you know, to do all. Someone speaking?
No. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
So that is what it is for me. I look at Jah from my background as an Igbo person, and for me, man is God to man.
Give thanks. Mighty. I'm gonna go to
come again, King.
No. I was just saying how mighty the I sound is. You know, we love the sounds here. If you're watching live, let us know where you're watching from. Put it in the comments. I see Germany. I see where else do I see? I see Aruba. I want to see more. Let us know where you're watching from live. Johnny Johnson, I see our elder. I'm going to go to my sister. What is the role of the Rastafari woman, you know, and what does the coronation teach us? The role of the Rastafari woman, that divine balance, because as we said, His Majesty broke with long-standing Ethiopian tradition. He says in his autobiography that he had to sit with the hierarchy of the church and he had to advocate for the ascension of Empress Menen to be crowned on the same day. What does that mean in terms of the role of the Rastafari woman, and how does the I see the role of the Rastafari woman? We wanted to have a next sister join the eye, but give thanks there is holding it up for the sisters today on the panel.
Indeed, doing my best representing the sisters. As I did say earlier on, that the balance, the creation, the vision of the masculine side, and the woman always needs to bring forth the execution. I could put it in that way, to make the vision be visible, to make the vision be tangible. That's the role of us women. We are the nurturers. We bring life. So whatever that has been breath by the king man's, the masculine side, we need to make sure that it you know it grows, so we multiply. We That's our main duty. I want to go back to the point that they were talking about the new faculty of understanding,
Yes.
and bringing that, by opening statement, it is said that Haile Selassie said himself that he was brought from a mere person to be the king of kings. And we call it is itete. It's a ritual, and those are what we should be looking into: roots and culture, rites of passages, for us to obtain being in the divine person that we're supposed to be. So in the African, perspective, if we don't go in those stages, it's quite hard, to reach that potential. So the teaching that we can bring globally is that we should look into our roots and culture, and how do we Africans conduct ourselves, and how do we necessarily connect with our forefathers, because of we take our forefathers as, the seventh four ancestors from myself right now is my God. So how do I connect to my God, as I am today? Give thanks.
Give thanks. Always a pleasure to hear our sisters block, and you hear multiplication. This is a chad. Before we transition from the eye, Haile Selassie and Empress Menen, royal couple, they were married in 1911 in a traditional Orthodox union. However, across the African continent, I know polygamy is a very common form of union. How does the eye view as a sistren the balance between the monogamy represented by His Majesty and Empress Menen, and polygamy, which is part of our traditional African cultures, many of them?
I would get a bit personal a bit, in the sense of like being in touch and being in that kind of a relationship, which is a polygamous relationship. Um, God's vision is too big. The vision is too big, and it needs to be handled, by many, many, many wise women around, that vision. So it's still part of creation. As I did say, my child is your child, the next woman's child is my child. And women, we must always, take ourselves in that manner, and not in a sense of varying which one is higher than the other. We're just there to build and create a vision, so that, we see the God in ourselves. Give thanks.
Give thanks, give thanks. And these are, as we evolve as Rastafari movements, these are things that we have to deal with practically. And these are things that I and I, coming from the West, moving home, have to overstand. One of the poison, I think, that we have picked up in the West is this kind of absolutism, my way or the highway. When you go to Africa, you realize that every town may have a different tradition. Every place that you go there may be a different way of things, and that tolerance is so crucial for Africa. I was telling, I and I brethren, when we go to Ghana, for instance, I and I don't drink alcohol, but we would present alcohol to the traditional chiefs. When we go in front of the traditional chiefs, we would bring an offering of swaps or different alcoholic beverage, sometimes even soda. We don't drink soda, but if the chief requests these things, we would present it. Um, and some races may want to burn out these things and say, we don't deal with these things. But in Africa, we have to have that tolerance because we can't come in there to impose. And if we don't offer that respect to the traditional kings, the traditional, because chief is a Western sound, if we are giving honor to our traditional kings, then there are some things that we have to accept. Um, there's a lot of slaughteration of goats, these and different things. When you talk about Daddy Bosco laugh. And we have had to have that reasoning with some of our traditional, family in Ghana to tell them we don't really want to deal with the slaughtering of goats. But, even with the building of Kwasi, which was our heaven on earth, there was a couple of goats tied up, and I don't think those goats made it. You know what I mean? I don't think those goats, and we had to have tolerance, because that was for the workers who helped us. So these are concepts again that we have to, and I'm a Naya Bingi man, so we burn flesh, burn all these things, but at the same time, going home, we realize we have to have a degree of tolerance. What would I tell our family in the West, Daddy Bosco, about how we approach the reintegration, as we, the crowning, yes, we're talking about the coronation, but also we have to talk about I and I preparing to come home. What would you tell your Rastafari family in the West in terms of their expectation coming home to Africa?
That's a very good question. Now, what it is, you see, when Rasta talk about roots and culture, like I said earlier on, you're talking basically African culture. Do you understand? And African culture is diverse. So you should come into the place with an open mind and know that for readers of a book, they say when you go to Rome, you do what Romans do. However, you don't want to be like Marx's father, who, when he left Germany and went to our next place, he didn't get the synagogue. So he joined the Lutheran Church. And that is what caused Karl Marx to rebel. Because he realized that his daddy didn't have no values, no principles. All he was concerned was with about business. So basically, I and I as African people, we have our values. We have brotherly love. Like the sister said earlier, your child is my child. I remember growing up. I didn't know my own mother was my mother. Cause everybody called her auntie. So me too, I was calling her auntie before, as I mature, I realized, oh, she was my mother. Because there was plenty people in the house, who were all living together. And they call her auntie. And me too. So it was when my eyes opened and, oh no, that's your mother. And all these people, they are your cousins and, your nephew, things like that. Do you understand? So that is African culture, and those are the values that I and I as Rastafari people should appreciate. Coming into Africa, Brethren and sisters have to come with the knowledge that Africa is a different place from the West. In the West, a lot of individualism and things like that happen. And let me quickly touch on what you call it. Something Mike said. Mike said nothing changed. Yes, something changed. The people lost their moralities and they tried to be Christian or Islamic. And there was the contradiction. So something changed. The people lost their African values. They lost their African principles and tried to be Western. I remember the other day I was talking to Dr. Jalani, and there was an ex brethren, Pazeru, the brethren who was Dr. Jalani. And you know what Doc tell me? He said, look, when you are speaking English with me, you are a different person. And when you're talking with your brethren in your language, it's also a different person. It's a different vibe. That is the, what you call it? Is it the contradiction of the African? You know, and we live it every day. And what has made it worse is whether you're a Christian or a Muslim, you have these imported values. So let me touch quickly on the polygamy thing you said. African cultures are mostly polygamous. For example, if you are the chief priest of the La people, like what you call it, Mike said, in among my people, the Wulom, the Wulomo is like the chief priest and he's the leader of the nation. If you are a Wulomo, before you are made a Wulomo, you actually have a wife, but they will give you what they call Senyu, which means the stool wife. Do you understand? And back in the day, if your brethren pass, you'd be given the response, especially when your brother didn't have a child with his wife, you'll be giving the responsibility of fathering a child in the name of your brother. You know, so these are basic what you call it, African traditions that with the westernization of our people, it has become like archaic or something like that. But as Rastafari is evolving, 2030 will be 100 years. Over the next 100 years, I want to believe that there will be a synthesis of African values, traditions, and cultures with the Western perspective of our Aboriginal ancestry. Give thanks.
Yes, indeed.
How many languages does the I speak, Rasahuma?
Oh, I speak and understand quite a few. It will interest you to know that because I went to Lagos as a 17-year-old youth. When people are speaking Yoruba, especially because I lived in what you call it in Lagos, at least I can, you know, for instance, I can go to Nigerians and then I'll say a few words and then they'll continue the conversation and I'll own up and say, no, 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 drop it here, drop it here. I mean, I can enter an Igbo community and I'll say a few words and they will say something, I'll say something, and they'll try and continue. I'll say, no, 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 please, please, please. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I understand a few African, you know, languages and we're learning still, you know what I mean? Give
Okay.
thanks.
Does the I speak Ga?
Yeah, it means a Ga.
Yes.
You know, so I speak Ga fluently. I speak Ga Adangbe fluently, which is my father's language. Ga is my mother's
So
language.
that's three.
And
That's
then
three. What
Tree.
about three? Yeah, so that's
I
4.
speak Tree. I speak Tree too. And,
Yes.
you know, I can pick up ever here and there, you know, and
I
then
want to make a point because the item are all speaking in English, and I'm very grateful. But I want our audience to realize that the item are all multilingual, and you're doing us a favor in the West by speaking in this colonial language. You know what I mean? So we have to catch up. We have to catch up in the West. You know what I mean? The item, you know what I mean, are doing us a favor by reducing yourself to speaking the English language. You know, how many languages do you speak, Empress Sipokazi? How many languages?
Actually, it's quite funny because Daddy Bosco here is mentioning languages that I don't even know a bit. I'm not even close to you know, to the tone of David Bogo's language. But I speak only languages from South Africa, which is Zulu, Xhosa. I know a bit of Sotho. I know a bit of Ndebele. I know, you know, but in South Africa we've got 11 languages, official languages,
Okay.
and I know about 5 of those.
Okay.
And going, you know, across Africa, you can't really state how many languages we've got. It's too many, and we not everybody like us as we are all here in this platform. We won't understand each other if we start talking our Venex or our mother tongue. We're not going to understand each other. You know, so, yeah, we are diverse like that. But I wanted to also just to jump in and also have an input in more on this the spiritual African spirituality and how we have intaken. I don't want to you know, anything or anyone, but you know, if you they say you go to Rome, you need to do what the Romans do. And when you asked on the slaughtering and you know the rituals that we do here in Africa, and asking as a Rastafari daughter, do I partake in such, and how the depth of my understanding. And I would actually advise whoever that's coming repatriating to Africa, as Daddy Pasco said, that take it as it is, you know, have that open mind, but also have an understanding the reasons why we use a particular, you know, animal or a particular way of doing something, you know, as how we connect, as how we it has been taught, and we can't say now because of there's a discomfort on a special doctrine that says that as Africans we're not supposed to be, you know, having such, and we need to shy away from that. But we need to fundamentally look into the roots and culture of us Africans. And if you are going to come home and repatriate, you know, there are certain things that there would be a cultural shock to you, but you need to understand the reasons of why that is done.
Yes, I agree. I don't think I'm going to ever get to the slaughtering part personally, but I'm respectful. You know, I'm not gonna condemn a man because he cut a goat throat. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna cut a goat throat. You know what I mean? I'm plant. I'm an italist. You know what I mean? So that is something that we have to share with our African family. And I know that that tradition is African too, because Ital is not from the West either, because there's always ones who chant that from anciency, you know. Honorable Mike Pam, how many languages does I speak first?
You know, my king, in your introduction, you said Ida is from the most populous black nation, and that comes with its own banks and and stuff. Here in Nigeria, we have roughly almost 300 languages, almost 300 different ethnic languages. So I am Igbo, and in Nigeria, you have the 3 major tribes first, 3 major ethnic groups holding the nation. That's Igbo, where I'm from, the Hausa, Fulani, and the Yoruba, Yorubas. Then after these ones are the ones called Wazobia. You hear Wazobia. Wazobia is just an acronym for Nigeria, which is Wa. Wa is come in Yoruba language. Zo is come in Hausa language. And Bia is come in Igbo language. So Wazobia is used easily to describe Nigeria. But apart from these 3 major ethnic groups, you have like 200 and something, 290 something almost. So I speak a couple, I speak a few, I speak my own Igbo language fluently, do some percentage of Yoruba, Hausa, I can, Nadia Hausa to say, Raji, I can speak Hausa pretty well too, and a few other, some smattering of a few other languages. To be an African, you must be a polyglot. You must learn how to speak a lot of languages. So we speak plenty of languages, but some of them you speak, fluently, and some of them you just speak words and all that because you must do that. That's Nigeria. That's Africa. I mean, and in Nigeria, it becomes much larger. You have a very larger basket, where you have to pick from. And depending as you go around the nation, you are forced to at least pick some of these words. But of course, English is our lingua franca, but we have our own patois,
Yes.
which we call Pidgin English.
Yes.
Pidgin is the most popular language. We speak Pidgin far better and easier than speaking English, because even the uneducated speak Pidgin English fluently. And when you hear it from the mouths of those who are not educated, the way they frame their words and all that, there's this beautiful thing about it. So and that is uniquely Nigeria. Ghana has its own pidgin too. Sierra Leone, same thing. Liberia, same thing. In West Africa here,
Yes.
but the Nigerian pidgin is larger. You have the vocabulary is massive. Yeovas. And now coming to the IPAs, like in Africa, like in my Igbo culture, that's what we call kola nut. Kola nut is a seed that comes from a particular tree.
Yes, we call it busy. In Jamaica, we call it busy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Kola nut is what you use to welcome people. So when somebody comes to your house, the first thing you give to the person as an Igbo person is kola nut. With that kola, you pray. Maybe your visitor might pray for your own goodness, thanking you for welcoming him and blessing you for blessing him by welcoming him and gifting him that kola nut. And we say this, he who brings kola nut brings life. Yehovah's. So what it means is that you will not refuse to chew that kola nut. You must chew at least a small bite of it. Now, the libation, like my Lord talked about, in my tradition, I'm a chief. I'm a red cap chief. I'm a traditional chief. And by Jah grace also, I was installed in Ghana too as a chief, Ni. But in my place, I have two titles in my place. And in that capacity, there are places where they pour libation. I don't drink. But when they pour libation and pray with it, you must test it.
Yes.
If you don't do it like you visited somebody, or you are in a meeting or in a setting where a lot of people are, and they give you that, you refuse to take it, it means traditionally in my place that it's either your mind is not clean, it's either you are planning evil against some people there, or you are saying no to all the prayers of goodness and things that were offered there, so you are not in tune with it. And that means that you are a pariah. you are not, something is wrong somewhere.
Yes.
Then some of these things, it now goes down for when you talk about altars. We are our tradition and culture has a lot to do with blood.
Yes.
Just like you pour libation, because we bless our land. Our land is, because in Igbo we call it Ani. Ani is actually nature. Ani, like when we speak in my language, Ani is God, because that's where you place your leg, and that's what sustains you. That's where the food that you eat comes from. That's where everything you get from life comes from. So we respect the land, the soil. So when you pour libation, you're blessing the land and asking for blessings from the land. When you're now doing some traditional things where you have to kill some animals so that the blood will be used for prayers, you pour them. And then when in some traditional settings that those meat, they bring some portion of meat that are reserved for this class of chiefs or this class of traditional people, this class of white cap or red cap chiefs or something like that. Being an italist, you must test it. You might not eat it, but you have to test it to show your free mind to show that you don't have anything against any member of the community nor the community in general, to show that you are part and parcel of whatever agreement is being made, whatever prayers have been offered, whatever thing, betterment of the society. So once you start isolating yourself from there, you become a suspect. Because in my tradition, some of those prayers, but a bad one, a bad man in the midst, will follow, do the prayers and drink the libation and all that, eat all that. That person is going to have an issue. If you have something in your mind against any member of the community or the community itself, or you're planning evil, you won't eat that. You won't partake in it. So when you want to do it because you are an italist and you're educating yourself, no, you become a suspect. We live a communal life. Africa is very different from the Western world. Very, very different in so many ways. In so many ways. You know, because we that we are here, we didn't live. So some of all those traditional things were passed from generation to generation, and that's how it goes. So in Africa, that's why I tell you, at times, when I look at Rastafari from an African perspective, because the most important thing is the liberty, is the cleanness, is the mind. How do you live? What kind of life do you live? Live clean and let your works be seen. Impact people positively. Show love. It's not about what gets into your mouth. It's about what comes out of your mouth. That's one of our sayings too.
Yes, yes.
You know, so Africa is really very different. So most times, okay, there was one time one of my brethren, this particular one, because he came to Nigeria at the point where there was some kind of festivities which I was involved in because of my position. So I'm talking about Ras Tafari, my lord. Ras Tafari came from Ethiopia and spent a couple of days with me. And everywhere we went to, you just enter my car, anywhere we went to, the first thing, most of the places, they will just bring a big bowl of meat. And I will be like, what? Anywhere you go to, or they will bring drink for libation and prayers. So I had to make him understand some of those things. Yes, no, don't eat the meat, but the libation, all this, this is the African way of welcoming you, of showing you love, of opening up our hearts, our homes to you. And when you refuse that, when you don't partake, it means that you are rejecting the love, the hospitality, the welcome, the brotherliness that's been offered to you. So we always find a way to circumvent and arrange ourselves so that we don't fall foul of our tradition, first and foremost, of our culture, of our way of living, and as well not to alter I trod. So you have to marry these things together for you to be able to make a headway. So Africa needs to be studied by the eye out there. The eye in the living spirit needs to study Africa. So anytime most of I then come here, they go back with enough experiences, some different vibes every time. Because it's a quantum learning. That's what you go to here. African liberty, you know, I say, my lord. Selassie,
Rastafari. And I'm going to give everyone an opportunity to say some final sounds. This was very enlightening, and it shows that we have to build that bridge with our brothers on the continent, because we need brethren like you who can sample those meat, because I know how to go do it. I tell you that I'm a rebel. However, we have to have that bridge where we have brethren who can explain that it's not a disrespect, that, you know, and these are negotiations that have to happen, you know what I mean? Because it's not just, you know, we don't want to come there and offend ones, but at the same time, some of I and I are very militant in terms of certain things we just not gonna do, you know what I mean? We fight in the West because a lot of us fight even our own parents not to eat meat, and we got scorned and kicked out of the house and these things. So we're not going to Africa to go eat meat, you know what I mean? But at the same time, we do understand the importance of respecting the tradition and to let these traditional kings know that It's not a disrespect, it's a love. We don't want to be a suspicion, a suspect. But at the same time, because I know brethren who get tradition and get kidnapped and they cut the goat and sprinkle blood on them, and the brethren don't know what's happening, and you know it creates a whole vibration. You know, that happened to a brethren I know in Ghana. So you know what I mean. Uh, there's a lot that we have to know that has to be reasoned, and at the same time, you know, ones like myself, Bingy Sean, other ones, we reason with the traditional chiefs and we let them know certain things, and we reach a overstanding, you know, and they overstand and we come to a middle ground, you know what I mean? So we've been able to navigate that way. But it's something that we have to be very cognizant of, and we can't come with a boastful spirit or a boastful irate that we are looking down on our brothers, we're better than them. But we are coming with an ITAL standard. We're actually developing an ITAL standard right now that we plan to introduce to the African continent. So it's a give and take, is what I'm saying. And we have to find that sweet spot. And we're not going to do it without ones like the I, without ones like Rasa Huma, without ones like Empress Sipokazi, without ones like Field Marshal Tau. We need the item to help to build those bridges as we come home. And, you know, we pray that our African brothers can overstand that, you know, we've been changed by the exile, by the 500 years. And even though we are Africans, we are coming home with different traditions that we will not relinquish. You know what I mean? We will not come. I can tell you a story. When I went to Isolo, the first time I went to Nigeria, this was 2007, and I told them I was ITAL vegan, and they were looking at I like I was a disease, like I had a disease, and you know, I, I, I told them, you know, and everything they brought, they had fish, you know, they said, no meat, and they bring it and it had fish, it had, you know. So we ended up, I think, having like some French fry and some little vegetable or something, you know, at the end. And they were perplexed. They couldn't understand, you know, how we were moving this way. So, you know, I know that even now in Nigeria, you have some vegan restaurants in Lagos. I hear the plant base is coming in slowly. I've seen it evolve in Ghana. When I first went to Ghana, there was no really plant-based vibration more than I think Sasepa was there. But now you have mahogany, you have many plant-based. So I think that
Yeah,
there is chance for evolution as well. You know what I mean?
true, true.
But we have to understand that it's not going to be overnight, and we cannot be disrespectful with it. We can't go there and burn out a man and say, fire burn, a flesh eater. You know, we can't go with that approach. You know what I mean? Yeah, we can't come to Africa with that approach, Bridget. And when I was young and we meet a man that eat fish, we say, fish mouth, fire. You know what I mean? And we were very militant. We can't take that approach, Bridget and sister, especially my Naya Bingi family. That's not gonna work. So we have to be humble. All right, so let's just get some final words. So, Honorable Mike Pam, give us our final sound on the coronation, this great day of celebration to the global Rastafari family. Give us your final word sound, and then we'll seal up with Rasa Homa. We lost Empress Sipokazi and Field Marshal Tau through the Wi-Fi, but I know they're sending their blessing. But just seal us up with a final word sound of blessing, Honorable Mike Pam.
Give thanks, my Lord. Give thanks. You know, coronation blessings, higher. And once I is through this, and I go back to the coronation ground. You know, it's a special day for I every year. And I said it again, like I said before, that if the coronation didn't happen last year, I wouldn't be the King of Kings, wouldn't be the Emperor. So the coronation day is pretty essential to an I trod. No one can sweep it away, whether it was done in the Ethiopian, whether Orthodox Church style or not, or in tradition. That's what they've been following, and that's been how it is. So we can never sweep it away, because without the coronation, Selassie will be His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie.
Aye.
It wouldn't be that. So I and I must keep on burning the fire, raising the consciousness, making people understand the importance of that coronation. And like I said, I don't deal with the Judeo Christian style or any of the religion there, no man. But I recognize the importance of the coronation of His Imperial Majesty, because that was what gave birth to the whole thing. So when I was called to look up to Ethiopia, where a king would be crowned, and when the elders then were shouting way back down there from Jamaica, about the king and all that, the coronation changed a lot of things. How the world saw the coronation, the pictures that went across the world, the videos that people saw, who some of them we still see today, the grandeur, the splendor, the kingly character of the king himself, and the whole razzmatazz made the world realize that Africa is not to be toyed with. They never saw something like that before. So the whole world were like, wow, this is Africa. And that was when some of them now started. Now, all the stories that were written, that were blotted away and whitewashed, some of them now started thinking, wow, this is happening in Africa. That means there's a whole lot more. So without the coronation, some of those things and the paradigm shift that we started having from there would have happened. So the coronation day is a day I and I don't toy with. Usually, we normally have some big shows after the night BG and all that, but then for this year, it's more of reasonings and chants and and Isis and all that. So, my Lord, Coronation Day Isis once again to once and once. Blessings from the Ras Tafari Continental Council, Nigeria, Italia. Man, they are still drumming away and skanking and giving thanks, and the fire key is burning. So I go join back the eye there, and give thanks. So blessings and glory every time from Nigeria here. We love you all. Selassie is the king. Rastafari. Honorable Mike Palm in the house. Yeah. Rastafari.
Give thanks. Give thanks, family.
Selassie.
And as appropriate, we will seal up this gathering with a word sound, final word sound from the chair of the RCC, the chair of the Ras Tafari Council of Ghana, our beloved elder, who has always been a source of wisdom and strength for I and I, who have been visiting Ghana, and a pillar, of unity. Daddy Basco Rasahoma Kansi, please give us your final word sound.
Selassie Rastafari Kedemawe. And you know something, Jah work in mysterious ways. Because once again, it seems like I'm calling the name of your brethren, Dr. Jalani, a lot.
He's your family, I have a picture with the item, and the item look like your brothers. I'm telling the item.
While we were in Accra, someone came up to me and asked me, "Is that my brother?" And he also said somebody went up to him and asked him the same thing, But what I was saying was that he had asked me, what are we, the Continental Rastafari, saying to the Virgin ancestry in the diaspora or living spora like Jamaican, the rest would call the item. And I said, yes, we have particularly been talking. So then for you to come up and say, Bab, I want this panel strictly continental-based brethren, I believe Jah is working in mysterious ways.
Yes,
I'd like to give thanks to Empress Kwasi for making time, and Phil Marshall Tao Tao. The man is a moving machine, here today, there tomorrow. He's actually been in Ghana twice, apart from the conference, the first conference where Ras Mike Palm was here too. He came differently for our Rastafari National Rastafari Conference, you know. And to my brethren, Jamaica, I doff my hat. What it is when we were setting up the council, a brethren asked that, no, I asked the brethren that I wanted a rep in Nigeria. And he said, yo, the way you talk the things you want to do is my palm, you know. And true to the brethren's word, since that day, my palm has been a true soldier, has been very supportive of the Rastafari Council works. And I like to give thanks to you for what you're doing, because like you rightly say, the lion has to tell his own stories.
Yes.
And there's a huge opportunity for INI. INI is always at your disposal. And what I'll finally say is that, like I said earlier, without the Coronation Day, there'd be no Rastafari. Don't kid me. You know, because Leech Tafari or Rastafari would have made so. But when he became His Imperial Majesty, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, conquering Lion and tribe of Judah, that is when the whole world acknowledged him. And that is what has even caused Rastafari to dig further back and say, look, beyond Solomon, what is the justification, you know, for upholding this king? So I'll say that I look forward with excitement to the next 4 years as we prepare for the centenary of Rastafari and what it would look like. Give thanks, beloved Rastafari.
You've heard it here, and this panel would not be possible without Rasa Huma, who recommended all of the panelists, who connected I with all of the panelists. So I want to give a special thanks on behalf of the Lion Voice Network team for the I recommendation and the I assistance, and it's consistent from meeting the I many moons ago. There has always been a consistent strength to I and I. So perfect love to the I, and perfect love to all I and I Rastafari family. We're going to continue to highlight our brethren and sisters on the continent. We have, I'm going to be reasoning with Empress Sipokazi's Kingman. We have other, Field Marshal Tauto need his own show. You know what I mean? So
it's right. True.
Forward to reason on his perspective, and we're going to broaden, how we build this bridge of Rastafari and how we tell our story. Why? Because the time has come for the lions to tell our own story, and this is the lion's voice, Rastafari.
Greetings, this is Warrior King, and the time has come for the lions and the lioness to tell their own story. This is the lion's voice. Give thanks and praise for the wonderful blessing that's been poured on me. Give thanks and praise. Jah use I as an instrument to set the people free. Jah give her the powers to chant. Jah give her the powers to chant. Rastafari, the lion's voice.
This is Mama Thea of Asli Pure, and when I want to hear the story from the lion and the lioness, I listen to Lion Voice with Ras Tafari Bonsu.
Greetings, this is Ras Shiloh. The time has come for the lions to tell their own story. See? This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir? Ras Shiloh said that. Are you satisfied? Wipe those tears from your eyes. I'm all alone, still you thought I was telling a lie. This is the lion's voice. Keep it locked, right, sir?
What are you waiting for? Come together, calling from near and far. Know who you are. What are you waiting for? Rally up, it takes the dust. What are you waiting for? Ancestors paved the way for us. Yes, I am Ketis Oyonde, asking, what are you waiting for to come together? The time has come for the lions to tell our own story. This is the lion's voice.
Yes, job people, this is Michael Shemai representing. I will say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
The fittest of the fittest shall survive. My people, open your eyes. Wake up. Blessed love, this is Queen Omega representing for all lions and lionesses. With the lion's voice, we come to tell our story. Rastafari live it. Hey, the lion's voice. Rastafari.
Alright, listen to me now, people. The lion roar, no dog bark. See? The lion's voice with Kwasi Bonsu. Time right now for the lion to tell his story. See? Listen up.
Amina, the time has come for the lioness to tell our own story. No surrender, no retreat, we are Jaja soldier. Rougher than the streets, tougher than a boulder. Bigging up Lamb's voice. Now put it. I Jalifa said that.
I will never stop, hail the Most High, and I will never stop, call Rastafari. Blessed love, this is Kushite representing for the Lion's Voice. We are here to tell our own story, Rastafari.
Yeah, David Trent of Steel Person. I'm saying hail to Lion Voice because it's time that the lion have its voice, have its own story. Says I'm stepping out here. Hear me now. Oh, yeah, the lion's voice. Raw.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice.